Meeples. They're pretty great, aren't they? Every tabletop gamer instantly recognizes these 2.5D game accessories, even though they come in a variety of shapes and sizes. But have you ever looked at your board games and thought, you just don't have enough? Or maybe you've been playing Carcassonne or Settlers of Catan and you want to play as a color that just isn't included in the box. Well, there's a solution. Just make your own. Here's a list of materials you'll need. A smooth, impermeable solid surface, silicone mold mix, Legos, Elmer's glue, Meeples that you want to cast, and hot glue. There are two types of silicone mold mix offered by Alumilite, quick set and high flexibility. The high flexibility mix is great for high detail models because it flows into the nooks and crannies of your model, and the mold can stretch while you take the models out. However, it takes about a day to fully cure. For our purposes though, we will use the quick set silicone mold mix, as Meeples have few details and the mold won't need to flex much when we pop the finished Meeples out. It also only takes about 8 hours to fully cure. We don't need anything special to be the surface we build our mold on. You can take cardboard and just laminate it with cheap and plentiful packing tape. Oops, out of packing tape. Luckily, I just happen to have some transparency film on hand, so I'll use that and support it with a manila folder for now. Brush on a small, thin coat of Elmer's glue. This will be just enough to make our meeples stick to the surface, holding them in place and preventing silicone from leaking underneath. Carefully place the meeples. Make sure you leave enough space between multiple sets of meeples so that your Lego walls can comfortably fit between them. Here we have 10 standard-looking meeples from Carcassonne, 10 slimmer ones from a game called Nefarious, and 3 from Flux the board game. Now we're going to build a Lego wall to contain the silicone mold mixture. These are some off-brand blocks I got for cheap. Name brand Legos hold together a little better. Once your box is constructed, just tall enough to go a little higher than the meeples themselves, brush the inside of your Lego wall with Elmer's glue. This will help seal up the cracks and prevent leakage. Of course, as we'll see, it's not 100% foolproof. Finally, hot glue the Lego walls to your surface. This will ensure they don't move while you make your molds and will safeguard against leakage. Now we're ready to mix our silicone. The silicone mix and catalytic curing agent are packaged in such a quantity so that you can empty the entire bottle of catalyst into the entire jar of silicone. We don't have to mix quite that much, so we will have to measure out ingredients. According to the instructions, you can measure out 10 parts of silicone mix to 1 part catalyst by weight. We're going to measure by volume. 2 fluid ounces of silicone to 1/4 ounce scoop of catalyst. First, make sure your silicone is properly mixed, especially if it's been sitting around for a while. This stuff was a mess. We'll start with a double batch, 4 ounces of silicone and 2 scoops of catalyst. We can always mix more, but we don't want to waste the stuff and make too much. When pouring, make sure you completely cover your meeples. Give the mold mix some time to settle into the cracks and crevices of your meeples and for the air bubbles to come to the top. Mix more silicone as needed. Make sure your molds rest as long as needed on a flat, level surface. Tilted or curved molds will cause problems if you try to cast in them. Once your silicone has cured, you can remove it from the Lego boxes and take your Meeple originals out. Be careful while doing this. The quick-set silicone is less stretchy and less forgiving than the high flexibility kind. You could damage your mold and your potential Meeple making abilities. You can use an X-Acto knife or box cutter to cut away excess silicone from the edges of your mold and remove extra bits of silicone from the wells. I'm a little concerned about this one area here where the Meeple was placed too close to the Lego wall. The mold is very thin there, and I think it could crack and leak during the casting process. You're going to need a 2-part resin casting kit, disposable cups. Make sure that they're either plastic or non-waxed paper, stir sticks, and a mold release or olive oil. This part is optional. Aluminite sells 2 kinds of resin kits, a slow set and a quick set. Quick set cures very quickly in just a few minutes. It's great for low detail molds like Meeples. Slow set is ideal for detailed models since it gives the resin time to seep into the recesses and release air bubbles. We'll be using the slow set kind because it's what I have on hand. To extend the life of your mold and to release your cured Meeples more easily, you can brush your mold wells with a very thin layer of mold release or olive oil. I didn't do that in this video. Measuring ingredients for resin is much easier than for silicone. It's just a straight 1-to-1 mixture. To add color to our Meeples, you can add dyes. They make specialized dyes that you can mix with your resin. I like to mix the dye completely with component 1 before stirring in component 2. It lets me mix the color in more thoroughly before the curing process starts. Keep in mind that your final color will be a little bit lighter than in your mixture, since the resin will turn white as it cures. Now, if you don't actually have any resin dyes on hand, you can use enamel-based modeling paint that you might have sitting around. Acrylics, because they're water-based, don't work very well, but of course you're welcome to experiment on your own. Bear in mind that metallic paints like the one we used here don't keep that metallic sheen after the resin cures. While pouring, make sure that the surfaces of the resin in your mold wells are flat. You don't want a convex surface to your Meeples, so add a few drops of resin in to level it out. And if you poured too much, scrape the top with your stir stick. Pay attention to the temperature of your resin. If it gets warm, that means it's curing. It'll get thicker and harder to pour, and if it becomes opaque, your working time is pretty much done. After your resin has completely cured, carefully remove your Meeples from your silicone mold. You can clean up the edges with an X-Acto knife or box cutter if you need to. And there you have it. Homemade Meeples you can mass produce in any color you want. If you found this video useful or informative, please click the like button. Subscribe to our channel to see more videos just like this one, and ring that bell to be notified when our next one is coming out. Did you try this at home? Have you done casting and molding before? Let us know in the comments. This has been Jason from Meeple Witch Cafe. Don't forget to dine in and game on.